Hey guys, what's up? It's iPhone here, and in today's video, I'm going to be explaining the Void Relic system within Warframe for new and returning players because I get a lot of simple questions revolving around the Void Relic system that are being asked way too often. I'm also getting a lot of people asking me on Twitter to make a video explaining them because I made a tweet because I ran out of video ideas, so seems appropriate to be making a video about it. So yeah, if you guys want me to make a video on one specific topic, just go ahead, tweet me, leave it in the comments section, let me know, and I'll try to get to it. So the Void Relics. Void Relics are your means of farming prime parts within the game. There's this misconception within the newer players that prime frames and prime weapons are pay to win because they are very hard to farm in their eyes, at least. So, a lot of people would see these flashy weapons, these flashy warframes and stuff, and immediately jump to conclusions that, they're pay to win, they're impossible to obtain in game because the grind is too long, so on and so forth. That's totally not true because, the Void Relic system was actually introduced into this game to reduce grind for players who maybe didn't have, a lot of time to play. And it was also, made to appeal to a lot of people within the game as well, to, allow them to farm at their own pace, right? So you got to choose what mission you wanted to do, what mission you were most comfortable playing to farm whatever prime part you wanted, implying that it was in the specific tier that you were farming in, right? So you have your prime parts and stuff are all split into different tiers and stuff, or your void relics is probably a better way to say it. But returning players, you'll kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about whenever I press X on this thing, which I'm going to actually go ahead and do now because instead of talking like an idiot here, it's probably just best to show you. So at the top of the screen here, you see we have 4 tabs, right? We have the Lith era, the Meso era, the Neo era, and the Axie era. And these are basically your different tiers, and they all represent different levels of gameplay, right? So your Lith is, your lower level, let's say 10 to 16. Your Meso is 16 to 20. Neo is 20 and above, and then you get the Axie, which is 40, 45. That's the levels of the enemies, of course. So depending on which of those tiers or eras you're playing in will determine the enemy's level and how difficult the mission may or may not be, right? So it's up to you to set your expectations for, what prime that you're going after, right? So you're not going to get the best prime weapon in the game by just, playing lift missions all day, right? Or lift relics. You're not just going to get those, because that's just not how it works, right? You might get a few parts from it, like there's the Tigris Prime Barrel right there. That's a pretty good weapon, and that's in a lift relic. But, chances are there's going to be another part for the Tigris that is in the Axie era or whatever. So for a returning player, what you could basically do is compare this to your void keys, right? Because this is the exact same method that you would use to farm your prime parts, right? So Lift would be your T1, Meso would be your T2, Neo would be your T3, and Axie would be your T4. Except the thing is, you get to take any of these relics and then play the type of mission that you want to play, right? You're not forced into farming a Lucky Prime systems in a T4 defense. You could farm your Lucky Prime systems in a T4 capture. That's basically what the Void Relic system allows you to do, right? You got that choice. You got to choose what you wanted to do. And it also, even if you don't get the thing that you want, you always come out of the Void Relic system with something, which is at least half useful, right? In the form of Void Traces, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on in the video, right? So what you guys want to know is, where do I get these Void Relics at? Where do I, farm one specific Void Relic? And the answer to that question is, you can't really farm for one specific Void Relic, right? But you can farm them in their tiers, right? So you could farm for Lift Relics, you could farm for Meso Relics, you could farm for Neo Relics, and you could farm for Axie Relics. But it's kind of difficult to pinpoint where one specific relic would drop because there's so many different relics within the game. So you're better just farming them all generalized, right? So if we go ahead and we head up to my codex right here, we'll be able to get a feel for how many different relics are within the game, right? So if we go to universe, we relics and arcanes, and we just scroll down a little bit. This is all the Axie relics in the game. Here are some Lift, here are Meso, and there are Neo. So, doesn't look like a lot, but whenever you consider that these will only drop within certain rotations in the game, like let's say, you know, A, B, C, you guys have probably heard of the rotations before if you're watching this video. You know, it can take a while to grind up these relics, right? Because some relics may only drop in rotation B, some may only drop in rotation C, some may only drop in rotation A if they can. So, you know, it's going to take a while for you to farm up like these different specific relics, right? What most people do is they would do like, you know, their most efficient farming method. So like, you know, let's say they wanted to farm up lift relics, they'd do like 10 waves of work in there like defense, back out, and then go back in again, right? That way they're covering 2 rotations of rotation A, and they'll be getting the lift relics from that there. But usually what I would recommend is if you're farming for your void relics, stay until at least wave 20, because that way, you know, you have a chance to get more than like, I want to say 2 void relics per run off whatever mission type it is that you're doing, right? So yeah, there's different missions that you can play to get the different tiers. So like I said, you split it up into your different tiers. You have T1, T2, T3, T4, Lith, Meso, Neo, and Axie. So for your lift relics, what I recommend you guys doing, if you want to farm for like one specific lift relic or something, go ahead, go into your market actually. Let's go ahead and go there. Go to your market, and then type in Orkin Derelict Defense. Orkin Derelict, and then go for Defense. This here one right here. This is where you're going to get a large majority of your lift relics, right? And this is a very easy mission. It's also a decent leveling spot too. And it's super easy. It's an efficient farm for your lift relics. It's an efficient farm for neurodes. It's an efficient farm for organ cells. It's an efficient farm for mutalist allied V coordinates if you're trying to get Mesa, for example. So you're covering a lot just by doing this one mission right here. And you're also getting like the highest drop chance for your lift relics too. So do this here. Stay until wave 20. Back out. Do it again. Simple. That's basically how I farm my lift relics, right? Moving on to my Meso Relics. Now, the Meso Relics are a little bit more complicated because you actually just have to do like a node on a planet. And you can actually do this relatively early, right? You can go over to Jupiter IO and just play this defense right here. Again, it's another defense. Defenses take a long time, but this is a really efficient one because, again, you know, it's very easy to do. You get a lot of neural sensors, which is a very rare resource, which you need to craft Forma. And like I said, it's very easy. You could bring Ember, you could bring Equinox, just any single like high DPS AoE frame, like maybe even Banshee, for example. You know, press your ultimate ability and then just stand still and kill a bunch of mobs. Like, the enemies aren't too hard here, and it's also very efficient, especially for newer players, because you're gonna get some really good mods here. Like, I want to say you could get maybe Infected Clip or something, which will allow you to make your corrosive element, which will boost your damage in the long run versus armored targets, right? So there's no reason not to do Io and Jupiter. And then for my my Neo and Axie relics, I do the exact same mission. Now, there's a multitude of different missions you can do, but I usually farm these ones on Eris. And you either choose between Ostrus, which is like an interception versus Infested, so you have to do a few things, or you can do Zeni, right? So Zeni is also an interception, but you know, you don't actually have to do anything. You just have to stand in your point. So you could bring a CC frame like Frost or Vauban or whatever, and just kind of hold the enemies in place. Where Ostrus is more like, it's more involved, right? You actually have to like kill enemies, and you have to get these like detonite, not detonite things, but anti-serum injectors, and like keep these things powered so that it keeps on going on. Is it Ostrus? I believe it's Ostrus. Yes, it is. It's called Infested Salvage. There's an alert over it right there, which is why I didn't say Infested Salvage, but it's an Infested Salvage mission, and you have to kill enemies to drop this anti-serum, and you have to like power the interception points with this anti-serum for the mission to progress, right? So, you know, for you to actually be able to complete it and things like that there. And it's just a lot more difficult. So you can either choose Zeni or you can choose Ostrus. It's totally up to you what you want to do. I will say Ostrus will allow you to farm the Nidus Warframes parts. So, you know, if you're farming Nidus and you also want to farm Void Relics, go ahead and do Ostrus. If you're not farming Nidus, go ahead and do Zeni. That's how I would personally do it. Now, those missions that I just listed, it's not limited to those types of missions. Obviously, you can do like things like excavation or survival or whatever you prefer doing. Just do it like relatively on those planets, right? So, you know, if you want to do like an excavation to get Axie Relics or something, you don't necessarily have to play on Eris. You could go ahead and play on Pluto, right? It just has to be within like the level bracket of the void relic that you're trying to farm, right? And you can easily see those relic brackets or those level brackets just by clicking on this little void symbol up here, and then looking at the levels that your fissures or your relics are played in, right? So you can only play a lift fissure within, like, I want to say like level 10 to 16, and then your meso is 16 to 20, 25, and then your meso, or sorry, yeah, your meso, and then your neo is like 30 to 40, and then your Axie is like your 40 to 45, right? So you just have to play missions that are a high enough level to grant you access to those specific relics. Now, like I said, there's no one way to farm like a specific relic, right? It's all generalized and you're all split into those categories for reasons. You're just better off doing the most efficient way to farm each relics, those of which I've listed within this video. And then whenever it comes to opening your relics, maximizing your efficiency whenever it comes to opening them, like I said near the beginning of this video, you can use these things called void traces, which will allow you to upgrade or refine a relic, which will up the drop chance off a specific prime part, right? So if we go ahead, we head over here and we select the relic, we can see I have 4 void traces right now, so I won't be able to do anything. But we go to my meso tab, we're bound to find a radiant relic, right? So a radiant relic, if we compare this S5, right? So this is a radiant S5, and you can see that the Sybaris Prime bar has a 50% drop chance, or what it seems to be like a 50% drop chance. It's just the bar is halfway full, but if we click on the regular S5, it has a very low drop chance, right? So every time you play a Void Relic mission, you're going to get these Void Traces, which are going to allow you to upgrade these relics, so you have a better chance of getting the Prime part that you want. I never recommend playing a relic mission on your own. Always play them with a group, because that way you get the choice of 4 different rewards at the end, so you can always choose the one that you want. And I also don't recommend using more than 1 radiant relic per mission as well. Only use 1, and don't waste yours, just running like 5 different radiant relics, because what happens if you have 2 radiant relics and you both get a rare part, right? You can only choose 1 at the end of the mission, so it's only ever worth using 1 radiant relic, because that way you're not wasting your relics or anything like that there. So other than that there, whenever it comes to just playing the relic missions, just go ahead, play capture missions if you want to do it efficiently as possible. You can alternatively do defenses and survivals if you want a little bit of a challenge, like the enemy scaling up with the amount of time that you survive, and maybe getting more rewards like XP bonuses, resource drop chance bonuses, things like that there, which come along with doing the survival, excavation, defense missions. You can do that there as well, but that's totally up to you, really. That's your choice from then. But just make sure to play the game at your own pace, right? Don't be rushing to get to the Axie fissures, because specific prime parts are only going to drop from specific relics, right? So it's not like if you get the Axie, you're going to be getting better or worse prime parts than you were at lift, because, like, let's take for example over here, Trinity Prime is a must-have frame in the game, at least in my opinion. If we type in Trinity, you can see that there's at least 2 relics within the lift era, or T1, that will drop, Trinity parts, right? Here's the Trinity Prime blueprint right here in lift K1. So there is also a Trinity Prime chassis on lift S4. So it's not as if Axie grants you better or worse stuff. It's just just get farming, get as much of a variety as possible, and play the game at your own pace. Really, that's all I can say. So make sure to farm up as many relics as possible, guys. There's no downside to it at all. And yeah, enjoy farming your prime parts. That's going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe videos from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.